When it comes to taking care of our furry loved ones, it can get very costly, especially with some dogs being allergic to certain foods, while other owners only want to pooch eating the best money can buy. This documentary will focus on the second most publicized pit bull fighting arrest in the United States of America. Our aim is to bring awareness to true pet lovers across the world, in order to show the horrible conditions and situations many pit bulls endure before being shipped to their new owner. In this video, we will dissect the cruel treatment many American pit bull terriers suffered under the ownership of James Elmer Givens, Jr. of Pierce County, Tacoma, Washington. When exploring the mind of animal abuser, one must first start at the beginning, or where the problem originally started, which would be the early 2000s. In the course of the investigation, authorities learned Givens had previously been investigated by Seattle Animal Control and the Seattle Animal Shelter as far back as 2003 for purchasing, breeding, and transporting dogs across state lines for fighting. Prosecutors wrote that the animal shelter had previously tied Givens to the breeding, sales, and fighting of dogs from Buck City Kennels and Kraken Kennel. He also ran a YouTube channel under the same name that prosecutors alleged he used to promote dog fighting. Now 15 years later, Elmer Givens Jr. is back in the limelight, but again, for the wrong reason. This time his barbaric actions were caught on HD video captured from his neighbor's DJI drone. The footage clearly showed Givens aiming and shooting multiple dogs on his property. And after receiving video evidence of his abuse, Pierce County Animal Shelter, along with the local law enforcement, conducted a search warrant and raid of the property. This would be the third animal cruelty arrest for James Elmer Givens Jr. in a short period of 14 months. The first call came in December 2019. 48 dogs seized. The second call came in October 2020. 36 dogs seized. The third call came in March 2021. 23 dogs seized. In total, 107 dogs were seized from convicted animal abuser Elmer Givens Jr. right in Tacoma's backyard over the course of 14 months. The dogs were found locked in crates with no ventilation, covered in urine and feces. Almost all the dogs had scarring on their legs, and some had been shot with BB guns. They were neglected, sick, and injured. They were terrified and frozen in fear, many needing animal control officers to carry them out of the dark garage where they had been living. At the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County, the reality of what these dogs had been through and the obstacles ahead of us to rehabilitate them were overwhelming. Medical care was just the beginning. Many were thin and sick, infected with parasites and giardia, and several tested positive for heartworm. Many had injuries, cuts, and skin lesions that needed careful treatment. All of the dogs received their spay, chart, neuter surgeries and vaccinations, nutritious food, medication, and individualized care. But it was the emotional and behavioral challenges that were the most significant. Many experienced intense anxiety and fear in the shelter environment. Everything was new to them. In our care, these dogs received love and companionship for the first time. Despite the trauma of their pasts, their amazing resilience and willingness to trust inspired our staff and volunteers every day. Every adoption was a celebration. 2 years after the last group of dogs were seized, this horrific case has come to a close. On March 17, 2023, Givens Jr. pled guilty to 10 counts of animal cruelty and neglect. He was sentenced to 10 months in custody and 2 years probation. Givens Jr. was also banned for a lifetime from owning, possessing, or residing with any animals. Today, thanks to the support from our incredible donors, staff, volunteers, fosters, and rescue partners, the dogs from these 3 groups are living their second chance. There are so many incredible and heartwarming stories of adoption. We've collected 17 updates to share with you featuring these now healthy and happy dogs. Mochi came to our shelter with the 3rd group of dogs, suffering from pressure wounds and scarring on her ears. She also tested positive for Capillaria boehmei, an internal parasite. Mochi was in our care for 100 days, most of that time in a loving foster home. The sweet girl was confused, scared, and struggled with adjusting to life indoors. At the time, her foster said, "We're working on it, making the house and her kennel a really nice place to be with love and treats. I think she'll be a wonderful companion for someone. We're working on her manners and training, very slowly." The hard work from Mochi's foster and our medical team paid off, and she was finally adopted. Her new family loves Mochi and says she is a wonderful companion. She loves her boy, our son, and loves to cuddle. Playing fetch with our son is her all-day happiness. She waits all day to do this after school. Mochi is a 40-pound lapdog. Our lives are richer for her. Then, there's Rosie. Rosie came to the shelter with the second group of dogs with scars on her head and the bridge of her nose. The shelter environment was difficult for Rosie, which is why we were so thrilled when she was adopted after 57 days in our care. Rosie's new family has been loving her for 3 years now. They say she is young at heart, constantly playing like a puppy and making up for her lost childhood. Despite challenges, they have always advocated for Rosie and ensured she will forever be a part of their family. Rosie had a rough start with us given she was people and dog reactive. She completed a dog handling class, so she is well behaved on a leash now. She is a quick learner and likes to please us, so it's been a good road for all of us. I think this proves that even a dog with her history can be rehabilitated with enough love and proper training. We love our Rosie. All these dogs were seized from Elmer Givens Jr. within a 14-month span. The next dog in the spotlight is Freya. Freya came to the shelter with the third group of dogs. She was sick with Giardia, and during an X-ray, BB pellets were found in her right elbow and abdomen. She was treated for the Giardia, and the pellets were removed during her spay surgery. Despite Freya's size, 90 pounds, the sweet girl was a lapdog at heart, and spent many days cuddling with our staff and volunteers. After 127 days in our care, Freya found a home with a wonderful family. It's been almost 2 years since her adoption, and this is what her family tells us about Freya now. She used to be very afraid, rather aggressive and very skeptical with other dogs and men. Now she has confidence and seeks the world with curiosity. She can be off-leash. She has an excellent ability to learn through training and to be challenged with new experiences. She can now handle those experiences without overreaction. Freya is also the best rough-and-tumble playmate for my other dog, Suka. They get along like two soul sisters. She has a good life out here on our farm with room to run, 10 acres, and a creek to play in on those hot days. Freya also has 4 siblings she gets to cuddle with every day. Last but not least, she is never without a deep admiration and affection from her papa, my husband, whom she deeply loves. He has taught her it's okay to trust, and that's the most important part of all. His kindness is her medicine, and they are very lucky to have each other. Can't say how much we appreciate your patience with her, and giving us the chance to be her forever home. We are so lucky to have her, and she continues to bless our lives every minute of every day. When it comes to animal abuse in America, Givens' actions are inhumane and considered by far for having some of the worst conditions ever to be uncovered in the United States. As the countdown continues, we fall onto a pit bull named Skipper. Skipper came to the shelter with the first group of dogs, suffering from Giardia. Skipper was friendly and full of energy, but had never experienced life with people inside a home. During a visit to a foster's home, they told us that Skipper would flinch when hands were too close to him. He would inhale food to the point of vomiting, and had no concept of where to go to the bathroom. But underneath all that, Skipper was an affectionate and loving boy, who wanted connection and comfort with our staff and volunteers. After 172 days in our care, Skipper met his perfect person. 3 years after adoption, his family says, "He's such a sweet, sweet little boy. He absolutely loves everyone. Skipper is just an absolute gem, and whenever I tell people how he started out in life, they are simply blown away by how sweet and trusting and full of life he is." I'm so very glad that Pierce County prosecutors and the judge took the case seriously and sought justice for the 107 animals that were abused by Elmer Givens. Having Skipper in my life is the gift that keeps on giving, and I look forward to many more happy years with him. One may look at these pit bulls and say, how could an individual be so cruel? But these beautiful animals meant nothing to James Givens Jr., aka Buck City Kennel. In fact, dogs from all 3 seizures had suffered from being shot with a BB gun. This next hooch, Jolene, came to the shelter with the third group of dogs as a 4-week-old puppy with her 3 siblings and mother. An incredible foster home took in the whole family while the puppies grew bigger and were under treatment for roundworms and hookworms. After 37 days in foster, the puppies were ready for adoption, but the foster mom had fallen in love with Jolene and decided she was meant to stay. Today, 3 years later, Jolene and her family are happy as ever. They told us, "She has brought an incredible amount of joy to us." Jolene is 100 pounds of personality in a 50-pound body. She loves kids and has figured out that kids, and random people she chooses, are more likely to interact if she sits and then scoot wiggles toward them. And it's adorable. She also does something I call a parade, where she gets excited, grabs a toy, and marches around going, "Rawr, rawr, rawr," with her mouth full. She believes she is the main character in our home and will cry and whine most pathetically if she's been ignored too long, or if I have missed one of our snack breaks, when I'm supposed to go get us all a string cheese to share. Many animal lovers have said Tacoma, Washington animal cruelty laws are a joke and not stiff enough. Many of Given's dogs were knocking on the front door of death as he continued to rake in money from people unaware of the dog's living circumstances. Sophie came to the shelter with the second group of dogs as a 12-week-old puppy, dehydrated, with intense diarrhea and vomiting. She had wounds on her hind end and feet. The poor girl did not feel good and needed medication and constant care to get her back to feeling like a puppy. After 50 days in our care, Sophie's siblings were being adopted, and she was the last one remaining. But the wait was worth it when her new family came through our doors. Her family updated us 3 years later. She has been such a fun and sassy addition to our family. We walked into the shelter knowing she was the last pup from the group she was brought in with. We didn't know what she looked like or anything about her personality before we came in, but we already knew she was coming home with us. We brought her home to 2 dog brothers and she fit in perfectly. Sophie was diagnosed with exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, EPI, about 9 months after we brought her home. She started losing weight pretty rapidly, and after many tests, we received that official diagnosis. She now takes enzyme supplements with her food, and she's back at a healthy weight, but we do have to manage that daily for her for the rest of her life. We would do anything for all our pups, so we are more than happy to do what it takes to keep her healthy. Sophie has just been the best addition and has the sassiest personality that is so funny to watch. We are so happy she was rescued from what was bound to be an awful fate, and happy we can provide her with a wonderful life. We just love her. We'll get back to the pit bulls that were lucky enough to make it out of a horrible situation. For now, let's take a closer look at the case of America's most prolific animal abuser. It has been said Buck City Kennels, aka James Elmer Givens Jr., aka Kraken, acts as a modern-day social media bully towards all dog lovers still having the right to own and possess dogs. He's not respected in the pit bull community, not even by the teenagers, and this drives him mad. In December 2019, Elmer James Givens, Jr., hereafter referred to as Givens, was accused of running a dogfighting ring, and 84 dogs were removed from his property. Nearly 23 additional dogs were removed from his property less than a year later, in October 2020, over suspicions of animal cruelty. To date, Givens has had at least 107 dogs seized from his property due to neglect and abuse. On March 4, 2021, Givens was charged with 75 counts of animal cruelty crimes by the state of Washington due to the December 2019 event. 1 count, animal fighting. 57 counts, first-degree animal cruelty. 17 counts, second-degree animal cruelty. Givens received a high offender score of 8. The offender score is a factor affecting a felony sentence, and an individual may receive from 0 to 9+ points based on 5 factors: number of prior criminal convictions or juvenile dispositions, relationship between any prior offense and the current offense of conviction, presence of other current convictions, community custody status at the time the crime was committed, length of crime-free time between offenses. Givens' score was high, as he had prior felony convictions for taking a motor vehicle without permission, 1998, and assault 2008. On March 17, 2023, Givens pled guilty to only 10 of the 75 charges. This still secured both felony and gross misdemeanor level convictions. 9 counts of animal cruelty in the first degree. 1 count of animal cruelty in the second degree. The state noted that the defendant has committed multiple current offenses, and the defendant's high offender score will result in some of the current offenses going unpunished, and the failure to consider the defendant's prior criminal history, which was omitted from the offender score calculation, results in a presumptive sentence that is clearly too lenient and against the peace and dignity of the state of Washington. Additionally, 6 of the dogs identified in the group above as starved, dehydrated, or suffocation were identified as having BB pellets embedded in their bodies. The charges for these dogs were later amended to inflicts substantial pain on an animal or causes physical injury to the animal. However, it's important to note that the defendant was observed shooting 2 additional dogs with a BB gun less than a year later, on October 12, 2020. WA State Recommendation on Punishment. The second degree animal cruelty charge carries a punishment of up to 1 year in jail and $5,000 in fines. The first degree animal cruelty charge carries a punishment of up to 5 years in jail and $10,000 in fines. WA state prosecutors made a recommendation that Givens should get 6 months in jail for 9 counts and 364 days on the last count, with 1 year suspended, be permanently banned from caring for, possessing, or residing in a home, if an animal, pay restitution, complete an animal cruelty prevention program, pay $1,800 in fees and fines. Defense's mitigating circumstances. Defense attorney Thomas Weber of Weber Law submitted a sentencing recommendation memorandum stating that Givens had to overcome a difficult upbringing, growing up in an impoverished inner-city environment with a drug addict father, and with many friends killed due to gang violence. He insisted that Givens is a devout family man with 14 children, volunteers with his community, and has an entrepreneurial spirit. He just got in over his head with a dog breeding business. Weber also insisted that Givens has a dedicated willingness to learn from his past mistakes and to take responsibility for his actions. And yet, 2 dogs were observed being shot by Givens with a BB gun after his arrest in 2019. In addition, 23 additional dogs were seized less than a year later. The final results and case resolution. In May 2023, the prosecuting attorney and state deputy prosecuting attorney agreed with recommendations, sentencing Givens to serve 10 total months in jail, 6 months each on 9 counts, and 364 days on the 10th, with 364 days suspended and all to run concurrent. Pay $800 in fees and court costs. Pay restitution, in accordance with RCW 16.52.200. Pay $1,000 civil penalty to the county for the prevention cruelty to animals, forfeit any animals in his possession. A lifetime ban on owning, caring for, possessing, or residing in a household where an animal is present. And attend animal cruelty prevention and education programs. One of Givens' 14 children bravely spoke to news outlets saying, "He's a deadbeat, and those dogs never had a chance in his possession." The many lies he carefully crafted over the past 7 years have been uncovered. The high horse Buck City kennels used to ride on no longer exist. He wasn't a true American pit bull terrier breeder. He was a poser riding off the name of other well-known pit bull lovers. Some of the guys in the pit bull community have said that guy is on a crash mission. Most pit bull enthusiasts and historians keep their distance, knowing he brings unwanted, unwarranted eyes, judging them in a stereotypical way. Some people learn from their mistakes while others never realize the ignorance that surrounds them. Buck City Kennels, aka James Elmer Givens Jr., aka Kraken Kennel, is an example of an American shithole. And although Tacoma, Washington, Pierce County judicial system could not handle an animal abuser in proper fashion, one guy has stood up against Elmer, putting him in his proper place. The guy I speak of is Pelican Bay K9s. He has definitely put a halt to Buck City Kennels' shenanigans. The American Pit Bull Terrier is a sturdy breed and has most certainly stood the test of time in the United States. But unlike any other breed, the Pit Bull has drawn more dumb asses and people that lack knowledge of how to truly take care of the pit dog. As this documentary continues, we meet many more of dogs abused by Buck City Kennels. The beautiful dog you're looking at name is Ruby. And boy, does she have a story to tell. Ruby came to the shelter with the second group of dogs, suffering from giardia. She spent 47 days in our care before being adopted into a loving home. Her family gave us this update on Ruby. I adopted her on December 1st, 2020. She was afraid of almost everything but loved people. I would notice when she heard dogs barking next door. She would go to the fence and look through it. I thought she might be wanting to play. A friend suggested Biscuit's daycare. I took her there for the first time in August 2021. She goes 3 times a week and just loves it. She has gained a lot of confidence being around the other dogs. The staff also keep the dogs busy with a lot of different activities and training. She is still afraid of loud noises but doesn't run and hide like she used to, fireworks being the only exception. I heard that the place she was rescued from would shoot the dogs with BB guns to keep them from barking. Ruby is a very quiet dog. It took her a long time before she would quietly boof, and when she did, she would look at me to make sure it was okay, and I would praise her. Well, just 2 weeks ago someone came to our door and Ruby actually barked out loud a few times. I was so happy. I think she is learning that from daycare as well. Ruby was not much of a cuddler at first, but now she will crawl into bed with me and snuggle up. Sometimes I wake up to her head on my pillow. She is funny, loving, sweet, stubborn, and I am so happy she has come into my life. The next pit bull is sure to draw the hearts of cowboys and Western lovers across the world. Her name is Annie Oakley. This majestic red dog, Annie Oakley, came to the shelter with the first group of dogs suffering from giardia. The sweet girl was full of energy and loved life so much she developed happy tail. Her whip-like tail banged against the walls of her kennels when she saw her favorite staff and volunteers, causing the skin to break open and bleed. With careful bandaging, Annie remained the happiest girl, and after 132 days in our care, she was adopted into a family that embraced her positive attitude. Her family recently updated us. When we first brought Annie Oakley home, she was a little nervous, timid, and shy. She was eager for love and cuddles, and boy did we shower her with an abundance of both. Within days, she was blossoming and showing her fun-loving and playful side. Once she realized we were her people, she bulldozed her way into our hearts and set up shop as our fourth and much-needed member of our family. Annie loves playing with her toys, and by play I mean slowly and methodically dismantling them to get the squeakers out, daily walks with our 11-year-old daughter around the park, and long naps in the sun. Annie is such a compassionate animal and is always taking care of us in ways that we didn't even know that we needed. She is equal parts playful and fun, as well as calm and quiet. She almost never barks. It has only come out on rare occasions when she is having fun playing wrestling with her toys with my husband. In spite of the many hardships she faced before she was rescued, Annie is gentle, sweet, loves children, is playful, always happy to meet new people, and always seeks loving physical touch. She is a gift to our family. She is our Annie Oakley. The conditions these dogs were in when recovered from Buck City kennels can't be compared to any other. Imagine walking in dog poop deep like snow topped with urine from the past week. Imagine having a litter of puppies in dog manure and piss. Can you see the mother dog trying to clean the filth off her pups as she ate the birth sac away? There's no way these dogs weren't carrying diseases no dogman wants on their yard. You would think the list of dogs adopted out would be over by now, but there's more dogs just like Givens continually abuse them. This sly joker enjoying herself on the beach name is Pearl. She came to the shelter with the first group of dogs, suffering from giardia, crusty ears, and painful sores on her hips and tail. The sweet girl spent 167 days in our care, so our staff and volunteers were over the moon once she found her person. Pearl's owner recently updated us about her and said, "She was a little confused about being able to sleep on a couch and she wasn't quite sure what to do with all of her new toys. Pearl has 2 feline siblings, Squishy and Norman, and she loves them both so much. She spends a lot of her time at her grandpa and grandma's house. I travel for work a few days a week, and Pearl loves her grandpa so much. She also has so much fun with her cousins, 3 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, which she thinks she is one of, so she is never bored. Pearl just went to a dog-friendly bar for the first time last week and had so much fun meeting all of the patrons. She wagged her tail and was so excited when people wanted to meet her. She has been such a good girl despite the situation she came from. I am so lucky to have found her. Although Buck City Kennels has been banished from the legitimate dog community, he's managed to accumulate several loser and junkie friends with the same way of thinking as himself. As long as there are people of this caliber with the American Pit Bull Terrier, the breed will be in a constant downhill battle to survive the avenue of extinction. When it comes to animal abuse cases across America, James Elmer Givens Jr. is the flagship representative of the program. He seems obsessed with being considered a large figure in the dog game, when he has been told by the United States legal system to stay far away from any four-legged canine. There is also rumored that well-known dog breeder Mal Kant recently suffered a major loss after the confiscation of over 200 dogs, because his close affiliation with Givens Jr. As of 2025, anybody associated with Buck City Kennels is looked at like dog fighters and animal abusers. Givens is the only convicted pit bull abuser in the country that left straight out the courtroom still on 2 years probation and wants his name to reign supreme. Givens Jr. has shown signs of mental health issues torn and ravaged with jealousy. He's also took aim at many young, respectable pit bull lovers just because they decided to do the right thing with their pit terrier dogs. With an international investigation on him since 2004, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know state and federal authorities have him under a microscope. Givens must also complete dogfighting classes and animal abuse prevention programs, which he boldly denies, saying he had to be re-evaluated by the courts for some apparent reason. And with so many dogs down on our list, we still have many left that were adopted to new homes. New owners that most definitely wouldn't have them in the harsh conditions as Buck City Kennel. Magnus came to the shelter with the second group of dogs as a 12-week-old puppy with giardia, coccidia, and skin lesions. Medication and loving care from our staff helped Magnus feel like a young dog again. After 34 days in our care, he was adopted. His family recently gave us this update. He is such a sweet guy. He loves playing fetch and loves his chuck-it balls. He likes to carry at least 2 at a time. He has bonded with his older sister Fiona, and they are good friends. And then there's the adorable Tila. She came to the shelter with the second group of dogs suffering from giardia, hookworms, and whipworms. She was very fearful upon arriving, but with help from excellent foster homes, Tila began to open up and become curious about the world. After 142 days in our care, Tila was adopted into a home that helps her overcome her anxiety every day. Her new family told us she loves toys, especially her squeakies, and has identified several food toppers that meet her high expectations. We go out to eat together a lot, and she gets compliments on how well-behaved she is, how cute she is, and she has a bit of a reputation as a fashionista. She loves car rides and adventures. She hates to be wet. And she is a busybody who is constantly trying to get into my closet. She knows that is where the magic happens. I am so thankful to have her in my life. And last but not least is Romeo. He came to the shelter with the third group of dogs as a 4-week-old puppy with his 3 siblings and mother. An incredible foster home took in the whole family while the puppies grew bigger and were under treatment for roundworms and hookworms. After 37 days in our care, little Romeo was scooped up by a loving family where he is thriving today. He is such a charmer. He loves holding hands, trips to the beach, and hiking. On our walks, Romeo often stops to smell the flowers. His favorite pastimes are cuddling and chewing his various rubber balls like bubblegum. He was a wonderful addition to our family. This video is sponsored by animal lovers across the world that do not in any way support inhumane treatment of their furry companions. And one last final thought is to never overwhelm yourself with more than you can handle. And all money isn't good money. Clearly, hearing the United States government tell him he's banned from advertising and using any social media site to promote dogs, Elmer Givens Jr. has created a Pitbull magazine, which furthermore shows his ignorance. Here we take a look at the new magazine ran by America's #1 documented animal abuser. In the first week of publishing, his pit mag Buck City Kennels received a cease and desist order from the APDR, ordering him to remove their photos and material right away. No legitimate company wants anything to do with this guy, but he continues to press the issue as if he's above the law. Here we show you the first page of his magazine where he advertises the rates to appear in what most say is a folding investigation. There's only one logical question some may ask. Why would anyone pay these prices to appear in a magazine of someone actively being investigated for dogfighting, when American Dog Breeders Association has a bigger platform with cheaper prices and a legal playing field? James Elmer Givens Jr. never fails to brag about a dog he feels high on named Michael Myers. Although Tacoma, Washington, Pierce County Animal Control rescued Michael Myers' offspring from Buck City Kennels, he was not the true owner of the dog. One can admit he does have the right to say he touched the bulldog and bred him a few times, but nothing more. He's created an imaginary movement called Team Mike. As you watch this documentary, it was obvious to see that Givens was a certified puppy peddler concentrating on the going fad in dogs. Whichever breed is hot that year, Givens had to have it. He created a magazine giving what he claims is dogman knowledge, when he clearly doesn't know how to comprehend the fact that he is permanently banned from the breed. This includes all advertisement. Since Givens' court case, many reputable breeders have lost their dogs. One spoke about earlier is Malkant. The pitbull community is desperately trying to keep this matter under the rug, with dog-fighting accusations being the reason Elmer Givens Jr. is on probation. One person wanted to know, what does this brainiac do when his probation officer asks about his job or workplace? Does he lay his newly published Pitbull magazine on the desk? Does he show his demonetized YouTube channel? Are the dogs and people in this magazine a part of his animal abuse and dog-fighting programs? No one will ever have a clear answer, but Buck City Kennel has most definitely lost his way in the world filled with animal lovers. This guy, along with Triple J from the famous Alabama 30 dog-fighting bust in 2024, are the few YouTube channels that try to ride off the legitimacy of the new thinkers in the pitbull community. They make real hog hunters look bad and gives the assumption that it's all lies. And the bad part about it is we're dealing with grown men, not youngsters with curious minds. Givens Jr. is a great example of misery loves company, and one bad apple can spoil it for everyone. He said himself his father was a crackhead, and it affected his life. You would think he would want better for his so-called fellow dogmen, the ones who haven't lost their right to own dogs at least. His actions daily definitely corresponds with actions of a baby born and raised by a drug addict. On more than one occasion, the pitbull community has asked Givens Jr. about his dog-fighting programs and animal abuse prevention classes, but no answers are given. Taking care of a pitbull can be aggravating, costly, and rewarding at the same time. Animal lovers across the world do and go through it every day. Most consider the pets like family members, willing to go over and beyond. While many other times, you will run across people who only want the money the dog can make, not realizing it takes money to make money. To the ones that say, "How do I know?" There's an active investigation on Buck City Kennels. Hear this. The investigation started in 2003, and it led to results. In 2019, 2020, and 2021 investigations led to horrendous results. You tell me why the government wouldn't be investigating if you leave the courtroom where you were convicted of animal cruelty, going straight back to social media, doing the same thing that put you there from the start. Common sense seems to be a rare thing in the pitbull community due to the fact many people are trying to fit in and have ego problems. James Givens Jr. has shot his last pitbull with a pellet gun. No more sweet dogs will be used as ashtrays for burning hot cigarettes. Neither will puppies be born into an environment filled with parvo and other viruses. The pitbull as a breed took 3 steps forward the day Buck City Kennels was banned from owning one. But what's forward motion when dog brothers and sisters wanting to believe in someone that doesn't believe in themselves? How can one speak about the ever-so-elegant gladiator dog of the past, used for many things in modern times, as if he has represented himself as a reputable dog breeder? Hundreds of thousands of signatures were signed on petitions throughout Washington state fighting against Elmer Givens Jr. from having a dog in his presence. Many animal rescue groups showed up to his court case daily, even protesting around the courthouse with picket signs. We can only come to one conclusion when it comes to this guy. He's bringing his animal abuse and dog ban troubles to every person he affiliates with.